Welcome to the Be About It podcast. My name is Ben Mercedes, and I'll be your host. We'll cover financial and crypto markets, real estate, and entrepreneurship. My goal is to inspire others to be about it and take action. In episode 11, I sit with Alex Vazquez, who helps e-commerce brands 4x their ad spend with Facebook ads. We discuss his journey into Facebook ads from video work, the creation of a new company after Facebook and Apple changed their algorithms, and what needs to be in place for a company to run ads successfully. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Cool. Alex, thank you so much for joining me today on the Be About It podcast. Alex is a Facebook ads expert. I continuously see his posts. He has some really cool things going on with Optimize X. And Alex, thank you so much for your time and for coming on.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
How are things in the Facebook world, man?
Man, Facebook world is it's like the Wild West, you know. I mean, there's great things about it, there's challenging things about it, but what I've learned about just paid media in general is you have to just overcome and just adapt to the changes that happen, you know. So with the brands that I've been able to work with, they have great days and bad days, just like everybody that use Facebook as a platform. But we usually find a way to get results by just understanding a few core elements. And they're just basic elements, really. They're just basic foundational advertising elements like, well, who's the audience and how can we piss them off? How can we make them laugh? How can we make them just get excited? You know, I was having this conversation the other day with somebody. It's like, man, how can we get our Facebook ads better results with the iOS issues, right? And so I'm like, hey, you have no control over those issues. What you do have control over is how you engage with your audience. And that's one of the biggest successes that I have discovered in the last 7 months. So in the last between 14 and 7 months, 3 brands that we worked with made over $3.8 million in sales on Shopify, right? And so you know that there's attribution problems with Facebook, and obviously Google is going to be having that same issue. It's all about just how can we create a very engaging post? And that right there is going to be the key in your discovery and how you can make things go viral. And is people talking and how you manage those comments is what actually will stack the favor in anybody's court, because the algorithms really, I mean, I don't really understand them too much, but they do like engagement. So if you ever see a post with like 400 comments, 700 comments, well, you're going to want to know what the conversation is about, right? And that's the core right there. That is the key element when it comes to having a very successful Facebook campaign, even TikTok, I think. So with what we're doing is just keeping that conversation alive. And that is what allows people to see your ad more. And obviously the CPCs go down and just the engagement goes up. And now you're getting more results, whether that's I want leads or I want sales. And so that's what we've been focused on in the last few months, and it's working. So that's what we've discovered.
Yeah, man, comment sections are some of the best places. I mean, I know a lot of brands are even using memes right now. The Tinder swindler's out, and a lot of marketing companies are kind of using the Tinder swindler format, and the comments are just hilarious. Why don't we backtrack a little bit? Why don't you tell me, I mean, how long have you been dealing in Facebook ads? How long have you been in paid media? What's your story and background on this?
So let's see. Let me back up to 2002. So in 2002, I grew up on the south side of San Antonio. It's all Mexican, right? We're just all Hispanics just trying to make it. Mm-hmm. And we all grew up with, the notion of go to college, get an education, and that's what's going to open the door for success, all of that. Well, I got accepted to San Diego State University. I got accepted to UT Austin, but I just didn't want to go to college. What I wanted to do was become a rock star. That was my main focus. I want to play guitar, I want to jam on stage, all of that. But when I was 2 years out of high school, I realized, well, that's probably not going to happen. So I joined the Navy. And so, I joined the Navy. I went all over the world. I was a plank owner, or I am a plank owner on the USS Ronald Reagan. It was a brand new ship at that time. And I went to Brazil, Chile, Peru, Hawaii, got stationed in San Diego, went to Australia, I went all over the world. And then when I got home, there was a school that I knew about in Florida called Full Sail. So I wanted to go to Full Sail because they had a recording arts program. So I went there in 2007, graduated in 08, and I came back to San Antonio and I became a video editor, right? Out of all the things I wanted to do, I became a video editor. So I learned, Final Cut X, then Final Cut 7, and then we went to Premiere Pro, and then we went to Avid Media Composer. At the time, it was pretty cool because I was, had a cushy job. I was a producer for, a pretty large Christian ministry, and I did cool things. But as we started having kids, my wife and I, we were just barely making it. I was still giving my tithes, my offerings, but just barely making it. And I was like, man, how can I live life like on my own terms, right? Like no one talks about that. You go to college to get a job, really. But no one talks to you about economics. No one talks to you about how to actually live life and make money, multiply it, and so forth. So I started listening to Grant Cardone, and my little brother introduced me to his content. And, I started listening to it while I was editing these sermons and videos for YouTube and Daystar and, all these channels. And then I started listening to Dave Ramsey. I was like, okay, I need to learn about money. So then I started listening to Dave Ramsey. I got his books. I read them. They were great. But when I did the things that he was saying to do, like life sucked. I was like, I got rid of my stuff. I got $1,000, but I got rid of my best stuff that will get me the money, right? And so I was stuck. I was lost. I didn't know what to do. And then in 2014, in 2014, there was two guys on my ship that were reading two books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Think and Grow Rich. So I bought Think and Grow Rich, and I went on a ministry cruise. I was handling the lights and the lyrics for the songs so people could sing along. And the first chapter, I was just immediately drawn in, right? And if you read that book, you know about Edwin C. Barnes, where he just like determined to work for Thomas Edison. And at that time, I was just driven. I was like, I got to do something, but I didn't know what to do. So I finished that book. I started writing down some goals and dreams, and I want to be worth $73 million owning real estate. And I just had massive, big dreams. And then I read Mark Cuban's book, How to Win at the Sport of Business. And that book opened my eyes to the fact that, look, you don't need all the things that society says you need. What you need is drive, and you need to learn something that the marketplace will reward you if you can solve a problem. So I decided to learn sales. So I went to the newspaper. I left my cushy video editing job, and I went to the San Antonio Express News. And tell you what, that was hard. Like cold calling plumbers, roofers, all of that. That was tough. And I didn't really last that long there, right? And so I decided to, I'm going to advertise my video editing skills. I still had Avid. I still had Premiere Pro. If you give me the footage, I'll edit it, and, hopefully I could charge you something good. I just didn't know what to do or how to do it. So I saw this ad on Facebook by a guy named Jason Hornig. He became an ads mentor at that time. And so I went to his webinar, and he was offering like $1,500 for his program, for his whole Facebook ads program. And I'm like, man, I don't have $1,500. At the time, I was doing the grocery, if you order groceries, I go pick them up. I was doing
like
that,
Instacart.
bro.
Yeah.
I was listening to podcasts on my phone, just feeding the beast, feeding like the energy. And so I did whatever I could. Then my wife started doing it, and it was tough. All we had was our VA disability was maybe like $1,900. It would cover rent. That's it. But we would do it together, and we kept doing it. And then I saw the course, and I was like, dude, $1,500. I was like, I don't have that. So I found out the number, that whatever his number was. I picked it up, and his brother picked up the phone. And I said, look, dude, like, I don't have $1,500. Give me your best offer. And he goes, I sell it to you for $997. I was like, done. Look, I have money in another account. I need to withdraw it. I'll call you tomorrow and I'm going to get it.
Was that your emergency fund?
Dude, that was my S&P 500, right? I had $6,800, but I had $6,800 in the S&P 500. And I heard Grant Cardone say, you know, you could leave it in the account and it'll grow like over time, but why don't you use it and invest in yourself? I mean, we do that with college. We think I'm going to go take a $50,000 loan out and I'm going to go to college because the information at the college is what's going to get me ahead. Well, I thought the same thing. I was like, dude, it's only $9.97. I'll learn it. So I got it. It took me 2 months to go through. Then I was put in a private Facebook page. I forgot it was called Academy of Advertisers or something like that. And I saw all these numbers. People were posting these numbers at the time. It was like Power Editor. And I was like, man, is this real? Is this like real business? Is this legit? And people were talking about conversion rates and all this stuff. Now, keep in mind, I already had a marketing degree too. I had a degree from Full Sail for online marketing. And, you know, I have mixed feelings about that, but it still opened the door to the fact that it's out there, right? So
for sure. So
anyways, there was a guy, he put out, he was always commenting to people. And so I became friends with him. And then July 17th, 2017, he puts out a post and he goes, looking for a shark who wants to learn the art of media buying. That was me. I was like blood in the water. I was messaging him like 3-4 times. Pick me, call me, just talk to me, please. And he picked up the phone. He goes, all right, we're going to talk. Or he messaged me, what's your phone number? So I gave my phone number. We talked and, you know, I just told him my situation. And I said, look, you don't even have to pay me. You don't have to pay me. I'm just looking for experience to learn how to do this business. Or just learn media buying, right? And he goes, give me one reason why I should hire you. And I said, because I'm reliable, dependable, and I'm on time. And then he goes, you're hired. So that was the beginning of me learning or getting into another agency, learning Facebook ads. And so one of the very few accounts that I had in the beginning was a traffic to webinar and then an ecom account. And it was overwhelming because you see the numbers, you don't know what to do with the campaigns and so forth. And I had a guy in the team walk me through, and he's a really good friend of mine still. And that's how I started, you know, in the art of media buying. And so in the world of media buying. And so long story short, I had my ups and downs, trying to get clients, trying to, you know, put more money, you know, just food on the table. I had those days where I'm like, hey, I had the lights about to get turned off, or my AT&T phone bill or whatever. It's tough, man. That's the thing about entrepreneurship, that it's like you have to be ready for it, and you have to have this like really strong. You have to have this. You have to be ready because those are the things that people don't talk about. There's gonna be days where it's gonna be freaking hard, man. You're gonna have clients, and all of a sudden something happens with corporate or whatever, and they leave, and you're like, damn, that's like $6K right there gone, you know, whatever. And so over the years, just, you know, building up relationships and just sharing what I knew at the time is what got me attention, that people were like, hey, you seem to know what you're talking about. Could we hop on a Zoom call? Can you help us out? I'm like, yeah, sure. And over the years, man, just been posting, you know, even small successes, just little by little. And like you said, you've been seeing my stuff little by little. I've had people follow me for 2 years and then do business with me, because I think you just want to just make sure, do you know what you're talking about? Do you know what you're doing? But as time goes by, I learn more and more and more things. And what's really helped me in the last, I say, since COVID started, was understanding the overall business structure, not just Facebook ads, not just copy, not just creative and attention. It's how's, you know, your overall ecom business set up. Because if it's not set up correctly, if you don't have the right business model, then your investment's not going to reap a return because you're not set up correctly, you know? And so, man, I've met amazing people. I ran ads for some of the biggest coaching, consulting businesses. And they were spending like, man, $2 million a year. And I got to manage those accounts. And it was fun. I was like, man, look what I got. And after that, once you say you've managed $2 million in a year, that is when the door really opens up, because you're spending high, and people who are spending high, they want to know how you can help them. And that's how I got to where I'm at. The last 5 years have been a roller coaster, and so
Yeah.
it's been a ride.
Crushing it, man. I love I relate to a lot of what you said. I mean, even, college and, Full Sail, I almost went to an art institute up here.
Mm-hmm.
I was in audio production and engineering. I, didn't want to go to traditional college. I was going to make it on my own and then that turned into video production and, and then the roller coaster of entrepreneurship of, 20K one month and then, a 5K return the next month and, a lot of self-doubt. Even even before me and you both getting into the business, it's like you need to learn. You need to drive around and listen to podcasts, listen to books, devote yourself to the information, and then literally apply it and make it happen. And so I think your story is fantastic, man. Tell me, managing a brand with $2 million, what does that feel like? Like when I was trading stock options, right? You're dealing with your own cash, and you have a day where you're in the red. When you're managing ads with the $2 million account, you're dealing with what, like 5-figure days, or at least 4-figure days every day, right?
Yeah.
I guess your emotions are they up and down, or is it
so
normal?
Man, I remember, going back to, it was the fall of 2019, and I got 2 accounts. We were spending about $5,000 a day. Now you do the math on that, that's like 160 a month. It's a lot,
right?
And the organization that I was at is like units, where are we at in units? And when you're in that environment and you're like, okay, I got the numbers, and I put them in Slack, and what are you gonna do about it if it doesn't turn good today? And it's just like it becomes an emotional,
it's pressure, man.
Yeah, pressure, man. Pressure.
Yeah, there's pressure.
And so now when I manage accounts, we're spending, 4,000 between 8,000 a day on Facebook. It doesn't really bother me too much anymore. I don't know why. Maybe because I've been through the ringer.
That's awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
And so this is why I kind of coined this with my friend Jim, is the Ecom Ecosystem, right? And I made this square, or this circle, where it's like these arrows that follow each other. So it's an infinity. And so here are the elements that you need to have to make your business successful. So I've had clients where it's been difficult, and they're like, why are we not getting sales? And why is this, why that? Well, number one, they're probably freaking out because they haven't done this long enough on their own, right? So now I don't work with any new businesses. You have to be established already and spend your own money so you understand the process. Number two, you have to know your numbers, right? I've been in the ringer where I'm like, hey, what's the target CPA for your sales? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Oh man, that's difficult. Okay, cool.
They don't even know their margins.
No, yeah. So and then I work with ecom businesses making great amounts of money, but their margins are like 30%. And I'm like, dude, you just made like 900K in the last few months, and only off of 300K. Where's that money going, or what is it? And they don't have the infrastructure yet. Still, it's kind of like, you made 900 grand off of 300. That's like 3x. Where's all that money? They're like, well, the margins on our products are like 30%. I'm like, 30%.
Yeah. Right.
I'm like, but you want more.
Yeah.
And they expect the 3x, 4x. And I'm like, but that's not how Facebook works. I mean, so, now I just deal with businesses only that they understand their business. They have a structure. They have an ecosystem where they understand their market. They have a creative team. They have a web development team. So if I say, hey, something's wrong with the website or the landing pages, can you fix the load speed? Or
they can convert that.
Yeah, they can fix that. Like I'm not a one-man band, and neither is the guys I work with. They have teams. And if you can't afford the team, try to find somebody in other countries that are really good, that you can afford them. But nonetheless, you need to have an ecosystem, SMS, email marketing, Google Ads too, Facebook, even a phone center. And so when I got together with Jim Moore, who's a really good friend of mine, and he's the founder of Optimize X, he asked me, he goes, hey, And in fact, we started really connecting. So we've known each other for 2 years, but we really started connecting last November when he saw I helped the business go from 0 to 40K off of 6K in spend. They were like, that's impressive. But I said the only reason why they were able to be successful was because they had a good product, they knew the market, and they already had email and all that set up. But the previous agency ran ads off of the other account, like off of their agency account. And I'm like, no, you run ads off of your account. That's your data. You manage it, and and how you're supposed to. So anyways, we started connecting, and this guy's spending like 30K a day on Facebook. And I'm like, damn, that's crazy. And his returns were nuts.
Yeah.
Were nuts. But
I've been seeing your ROAS posts. I mean, month after month, 2x, 3x, 4x. And, for anyone who doesn't know what that term is, it's return on ad spend. So for every dollar you put out, if you get a 3x, it's a 3x return. Those are little things that I think every business owner should know. And I feel like every business owner should dabble in ads, at least on a small extent, because you can really dial them in so well. I mean, like I have a wedding brand, and at minimum, I can just target women between ages of, 25 and 35 who maybe like designer clothing and, are interested in weddings or engagements. And you're going to see followers, and you're going to see, some inquiries from those followers from my brand. But if you take it a step further and work with someone like yourself, I'm sure you guys are working on, retargeting campaigns and all types of other touch points. So you met with Jim, and then that turned into the Optimize X collaboration?
Yeah. So, man, okay. So going back into last February, we connected, and he shared with me some funnels, and we just geek out over marketing because he's in Thailand. So he's American. He just lives in Thailand.
Oh,
and
cool.
He has interesting stories. Cool. So if you want to get him on your podcast, you would be like, his story is cool. Like crazy, but it's really inspiring, really good. So we were talking, and this guy, keep in mind, he talks to like mega millionaires and even billionaires. Mm-hmm. That's who he talks to. So he was having a conversation with the Asian regional director of L'Oreal. So he talks to the companies like that, and he was asking the question like, how are you guys going to solve this attribution problem? And so he was just asking a lot of questions, and it came down to, they're going to go to old school tracking, like early 2000s way of tracking, and all server-based tracking, in other words. So, but he didn't know what that meant, because he started in 2004, like early marketing before it was called ecom and blogging. He was asking like, well, what's that? And he realized, oh, I know what that is. Cause I did that with my affiliate marketing back with like, teeth whitening products and things like that. And so, we were talking on Messenger, like through the Messenger phone app. And he said, you know what? A lot of people are upset at Facebook because they're not going to solve this attribution problem. And I'm like, yeah, I see that a lot of people are pissed off, right? They're upset at Mark Zuckerberg and all that. And he goes,
I've been seeing the changes come.
Yeah. So he was saying, you know what? It's not his responsibility to fix the tracking issue, because it's his responsibility to make sure that the business stays profitable, and he's responsible to the shareholders. Just like L'Oreal, just like Coca-Cola, just like any big business, they're responsible to those who have invested in the business to get their money back. But it's your responsibility to make sure that you handle and collect the data. That's your data, not Facebook's data. It's your data. So he's working with a team out of the Ukraine and Jerusalem, and they're out of a company called it's a fintech company. I forgot their name, but if you go to Jim's post, you're gonna see it. So they work in banking. So security type banking coding, that is what Optimize X is gonna be. So all first party data, CRM data. So what he discovered was Apple was saying, all right, third party applications, you don't have permission to collect data from people. So they could opt out, right? So that means if you have a pixel or really any type of code on your website, that is considered third party tracking. However, if they go to your domain, that is your website. All right. So if you go to, if Facebook sends traffic to your website and you collect all the data first party, which Apple cannot scrub, that is your data, you get to control and do whatever you want with that data. And so in the month of November and December, we were able to scale our jewelry brand Celtic Knot to about over $900,000 in sales because we had all the data. Now, back in October, late September, early October, Facebook got in contact with us and they said, "You have an unusual situation. You have so much data. We want to know what you're doing." They thought that we were somehow gaming the system. So we got on a call with them and the developers, and they're like, "You have so much data. What are you guys doing?" And they thought we were doing something black hat. And we're like, "Here's what we're doing with Google Cloud Services and all these other things. And here's what we're doing with our server." And they were amazed at that. And they built out something within the ads platform under integrations because of what Jim discovered. Right. And so everything.
Yeah. I remember seeing that whole situation between Facebook and Apple and privacy kind of come to a head. And then it finally happened where it was like, hey, we're no longer going to, work the way we did before. And then seeing a lot of people in digital marketing groups and their return on ad spend go way down, their engagement go way down. So that's amazing that you guys were able to find a workaround. And boy, I would have been pretty nervous jumping on that Facebook call with developers and stuff like that.
Yeah. So
were you nervous at all?
You know what? I was just amazed. Like, wow, here's this team from this, giant, conglomerate company. Business wanted to know what are we doing? And they were looking at first when our development team was working with the attribution problem, right? We were like 98% like on spot. Then we're like 104. We're like, hey, we're over. And they kept working with us. And then we got 1 for 1. Now, the Facebook development team told us you are near zero data loss. And they're like, how are you doing that? And so we showed them with Google and with Google Data Studio, what we're doing with Google Tag Manager, all of that. And they were just like layers, just intricate layers of dynamic IDs within each event. And that's what birthed OptimizeX. OptimizeX was supposed to be for like, it wasn't for attribution first. It was more just for like tracking, like your orders if they're on point, and then you're gonna lose inventory, so you need to restock. It was more like that. But then it birthed into the attribution. And so when Jim Moore put out the post, that's when it flooded. People were using different types of programs, but people who are using some of the most popular, it was tanking their account because you're going off of their interface and what it says your campaigns are getting, like results or purchases or whatever. The problem is the data is not going back to Facebook. So you got to get the data to pass through and go back to Facebook for you to optimize. Because if the data is not there, you're optimizing blindly. So it has to get the data. Right. So the data is so important. And then that's how, we were able to scale our campaigns. And in the month of December, we made, I think it's like 900,000 in sales. And people were like, how are you doing that? Just on Facebook? We had Facebook, email, SMS, of course. I mean, they all played a role, but
it's an entire system.
Yeah, it's an entire system. You got to have the system. And so we say, man, if we depended on Facebook, our business would be bankrupt. We had to use Google. We had to use SMS and build, relationships with the email and SMS, So that was the biggest turning point is you need to have the whole system. You can't have part of it. You need to have all of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've dealt in some, funnels and even just looking at, SMS campaigns, email campaigns, retargeting campaigns, but I totally agree with you where everything needs to be wired up for everything to be optimal.
Yeah.
We're almost at 30 minutes here. I don't want to hold you too long. Any tips for, someone new getting into Facebook ads or maybe they're thinking about starting their own kind of agency? Where would you point them to if they want to learn more?
Let me see. That's a good question. Where I started was I bought a course. The way I looked at buying the course, even buying coaching, right? I bought coaching. I spent like 25, 30K in coaching. I looked at it just like going back to college, but I needed somebody who's done it and actually who's actually is successful and know what they're talking about. That is why I spent the money. Here's something about entrepreneurship people don't talk about, because I had a friend who just got into entrepreneurship. He's trying to help children ministries, and he saw all the resources I had. He saw my sales scripts. He saw the courses I had and all these things. And he's like, hey, would you give me access to that? And I said, no. I said, I'm not going to give you access. I'll give you maybe some documents, but not all of it. I'm not, because I spent the money. I spent money that I didn't have to get the knowledge that I do have. So if you're going to want to become a businessman or businesswoman and you want to start a business, Facebook, whatever it is, be prepared to spend money you don't have and get comfortable with it. Right? Because, man, it's something we just think that it's going to just come to us. It's like success is going to come. I just have to wait. Man, you're going to have to go out there and show what you're worth and be patient. It will come to you, but you got to go out there and start conversations. And so whenever I have conversations with businesses on Facebook ads, I talk about, again, that ecosystem. Well, how's your business set up? Right? One of the biggest things that I've seen with our brands is the phone center, right? Most people don't talk about that. So enhancing your customer experience, the way I look at that is, if I go to Chick-fil-A or Starbucks or any restaurant, I'm going to get greeted, and that waiter's going to talk to me nice, and they're going to serve me. It's the same way for your digital business. Just because people are commenting doesn't mean you need to ignore them. Like, talk to them. Here's a tip. Within your Facebook ads, you see a comment, you have 7 days to actually send them a private message. Did you know that?
I think I've seen that.
Okay, so you have
reply as a message, I believe.
Yeah, so here's one.
I didn't know the 7-day window though.
Yeah, you have 7 days, and after that window's gone. So here's a tip that will help anybody who's listening to this, who's running ads and is successful. Here's what I do to tell my clients. So it's just a free nugget. When someone comments, love it or like it, reply to them, right, accordingly, whatever their question is or whatever, and then reply to them again with a GIF. So now your ad saw one comment, but now it sees 3. And so imagine for every comment you have, it keeps growing. Engagement. It keeps growing. Now Facebook says, whoa, look at all this engagement. Now more people are like, well, what's this conversation about? And then if you're offering something for like 30% off, then you could send them a private message. You say, hey, Ben, I thank you for commenting on our post. Here's 20% off. And then send them the link and say, if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out to us. Boom. That's a nugget that no one has ever talked about. And I discovered that like years ago, but with organic, but then I moved it to paid, and businesses were like, whoa, look at all this. So I'm like, you need somebody who understands the business to reply to all these people, because everybody is a potential customer. And if you can get them on the phone, asking them questions about what attracted them to the ad, and hey, well, here's this opportunity if you still want it, And so it depends on how you handle those conversations. Those right there will help you get more sales, and it's lost sales. And so, but yeah, that's just a nugget for Facebook ads. But you know what?
Yeah, no, yeah.
So real quick, so going back into books and stuff, man. I got.
I was gonna ask, what are your favorite business books? Maybe top 2.
Woo, man, business books. Man, I got a library.
Give me one business, one mindset.
Man, one business book. Oh man, damn, I don't know.
Or give me a few. That's fine.
Okay, I'll give you a few. The first one that got me to think about business was Think and Grow Rich. That was the first one. What am I good at?
Yeah.
What could I be great at? Could I solve someone's problem? And then the fourth one is, how could I charge high ticket? And that's where I learned. I paid a lot of money to learn how to sell. I could talk. I'm pretty sure you can see that. But getting someone to be inspired and influenced that you're going to enroll them into your program, that's a whole other thing, right? So I got Alex Vazquez's book. This is really good. I'm still learning.
Cool. 100 million offers.
Yep. Here's Here's that one I told you about, How to Win a Sport of Business. Like, if you look at my books,
like it.
man, like, let me see, like, they're all written in. They're all written in. Like, this is how I take notes. And so this picture right here, he's learning how to code. And the back right here, it says poverty sucks. So I thought, ooh, a shirt idea, poverty sucks. So I started a Facebook page called Poverty Sucks, but spelled S-U-X. It has 4,000 followers on it. I need to go back into it. But I got real estate books, a multifamily. I'm always reading in commercial real estate. But something else that really is awesome is Ryan Holiday's book, the Daily Stoic.
I'm familiar.
It's really good, man.
Yep.
I want, profound thoughts and just ideas that I never really grew up listening to or knowing. That's something that I invest in. Man, I got a ton of books. I got one of my favorite from last year was Who Moved My Cheese?
Interesting title. Who's the author?
Dude, this one is a gem. This is by Spencer Johnson. This book is about life. So it's about two mice and they're chasing cheese, and the cheese could be your finances or your health, or you stayed at a job for 30 years. That's your cheese. I'm comfortable with my cheese. But what happens when that cheese moves? You get let go. You're either going to be one of the two mice. Stay there and, they'll come back. I'm entitled to. Or, hey, there's an opportunity over here. I'm going to go around this maze and I'm going to go down the dark, unknown path, hopefully to find new cheese, new opportunity. This book right here, you got to read that book. I tell everybody, you got to read this book. I have my kids read this book.
I like it. I'm going to check it out. Because I like it.
It happens. Hey, a client moved. Damn. Hopefully they'll come back. You got to go out there and go into the unknown and talk to people. Talk to 20 people. You may close one or two. So the new cheese is out there.
If that.
But it's going to move. And so, that's one of the things. So this year, one of my plans is to actually get into real estate, owning income producing assets. And so I met with an investor last week along with my friend. He flipped homes. I said, look, why don't we build out a 506c fund where we raise money from those who have just a lot of it and they don't know what to do with it. And we could find a producing asset like either a medical commercial building or maybe a 16-unit apartment complex. Let's hold it, turn it around, and let's let it cash flow and let's let it go up in equity over the years. And that's the goal. So Jim is like, dude, like I have all this money. What are we gonna do with it? Like, let's get an income producing asset. Let's hold property that goes up over time. And so, man, I'm all about that commercial space, man. I want to get that. So this year, I'm hoping to get into there. And just my goal is to get out of debt this year, out of student loan debt, get into my first real estate investment property, and just share my story. If I could do that with any podcast, I'm more than willing to do that.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for your time. If people want to learn more about you, what are your socials? Where can they catch up with you online?
Facebook is where I do a lot of my postings. So if you go to, facebook.com/Alex Vasquez 210 or something like that. I don't know. I'll give you the link for that.
I'll grab the link. I'll put it in the show notes for anyone listening.
I do have a Twitter. I don't know the handle for it. I do have a LinkedIn. But mostly I'm on Facebook. I'll go to groups. And Facebook is where I do a lot of my organic. So that's where people can find me.
Cool. Yeah, I'll grab your socials. I'll put them in the show notes. Alex, thank you so much for your time. We have so many similarities, and pretty much everything you referenced, I'm kind of in tune with. I've read or listened to, and I've kind of dealt with. So I'm really glad we finally got the chance to take the time. Guys, if you're watching this show, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell on YouTube. That'll give you notifications when we post to the channel. Make sure to, do the same on, whatever podcast app you're listening to. Also, make sure to get this app, or make sure to get the Fountain app and pull up the Be About It podcast. That's going to allow you to, they have a clipping feature where you can kind of pick your favorite parts of the show. And then there's also this really cool feature where you can actually send any podcaster, any amount of Bitcoin, be it 10 cents, $1, $10, $20. So it's the idea of value for value. So if you received something valuable from the show, feel free to send us some love there. Thank you for your time, and we'll talk to you guys soon.